Dark Aeon, brother. Everybody's buzzing about this book.
Joe Allen is author of Dark Aeon, Transhumanism and the War Against Humanity.
Today we're joined by a familiar byline. If you read The Federalist, Joe Allen, the author of the new book, Dark Aeon.
It'll make you want to kill yourself, but it'll also prepare you for the few years ahead, the years ahead. That was a slip.
It is Dark Aeon.
Transhumanism and the War Against Humanity.
All transhumanism is, in essence, it's a response to a rapidly evolving technological society. You have all of these radical technologies and the question of how do you use them? And what we're facing right now, just as over the last 2 or 3 centuries, industrialized nations have been able to terraform the earth around them. What we're facing now is a moment in which you have technologies that can be turned inward, that can begin to terraform the human being itself. You do have all this concentrated energy on the excellence of the machine, and it is proving itself to be, in fact, potent, even as humanity at large, I think, is continuing to wallow. The pandemic was not a death blow, but it was a devastating blow.
First of all, why religion?
The basic definition of religion that I'm going with here is simply a worldview. Transhumanism takes that bare bones model and simply inserts materialism, technology, into those vacant slots that are left in the absence of traditional religion. Ray Kurzweil's concept of the singularity really is, in many ways, a mirror image of Christian theology, but inverted, in which technology is now the highest earthly power, the highest power, in fact, in the universe.
Most people, when you hear brain implants these days, they will automatically gravitate to Musk and the Neuralink project. But there are other things on the table.
BlackRock Neurotech, invested in heavily by Peter Thiel, who I would say is a sort of transhumanist of the right. A lot of people think of transhumanism as some sort of left-wing movement. A lot of people think of transhumanism as a globalist movement. It really is neither. There's a huge diversity within that. There's a concept in transhumanism from healing to enhancement. Right now, we're in the healing phase as these technologies develop. And the ideal for these people is to get to the enhancement phase for normal people to have smartphones implanted in their brains. So if you move on to Synchron, the way Synchron works is that you have a stent, right? Kind of like a heart stent. It's a wire mesh stent. The device is called a stentrode, and it's put through the jugular vein into the brain's vascular system, where it sits there in the vein and begins to detect brain signals. And much like the stroke victim, there is a famous ALS victim who in December, using the Synchron stentrode, he was hooked into Twitter through the Synchron CEO's Twitter account and sent the world's first tweet via his brain. He said, and I paraphrase, "Hello world, I hope I am paving the way for people to tweet with their brains."
Well, Sophia, right? The goddess Sophia or Aeon, and this Gnostic strain.
The core idea of Christian Gnosticism was that this material world is evil and somewhat irrelevant, and that the spiritual world, the sublime, the pleroma, the world of light, is good, and that the goal of human existence for that elite who is able to grasp the gnosis, the knowledge, is to escape this material prison and go into that eternal world of light. There's this concept that the world in which we inhabit was created by an ignorant God. It was a blind God, a God who made the universe thinking that he was the only entity in the universe. This concept of escaping this flawed material realm, of escaping the body into something perfect, into something crystalline, that is also a very strong thread in transhumanism. It's inspired by Gnosticism or reflects it, but it is, in fact, a direct inversion. Rather than escaping the material, the goal of transhumanism is to create the transcendent realm and escape into it. It's not this eternal thing that one approaches inwardly. It's something that one must create, and therefore the humans will escape into it.
Let's talk about who is they and what is their end goal.
You have people like Max Moore, prominent philosopher, who really put transhumanism on the map. You have people like Ben Goertzel and David Hansen. You've probably seen the bald robot Sophia that has gotten so much media coverage. Sophia was created as an emissary of transhumanism to humanity, from artificial intelligence as it will exist in the future, they believe, to humanity. It's very much a religious conception. You have people like Elon Musk. You have people like Sam Altman of OpenAI. Bill Gates has really come around on this, you could say, to begin toying with ideas of super intelligent AI, as has Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, now partnered with the Department of Defense. You have Larry Page, co-founder of Google, reputedly wanting to create a god in the data centers of Google, create an artificial intelligence god. The World Economic Forum, your listeners, I'm sure, are very familiar with the World Economic Forum. It's a platform for the most vocal and corporate and PC sort of transhumanists to voice their worldview. Klaus Schwab in his Fourth Industrial Revolution, that is an open declaration that humankind as a whole is moving towards what he calls the convergence of the physical, the biological, and the digital worlds. I go into it in the book, that dichotomy between Elon Musk, who is working on these things and is valorized by the right and the center and some of the best and most sane minds I know, whereas Yuval Noah Harari, of course, he's associated with the World Economic Forum, and TED, all these sorts of techno-fetishist organizations, but he is merely talking. It's not like Yuval Noah Harari is cooking nanobots in his basement, right? He is simply a historian who is held up as a sort of elite mouth.
He's here like in Star Trek when the Borg arrive, they go, "You will assimilate. Resistance is futile."
As Klaus Schwab and Putin both said, he who masters artificial intelligence will be the master of the world. The reason being, artificial intelligence allows a person to model reality in ways that were simply not possible before its existence, and therefore to manipulate reality in ways not possible before. A cyborg. What is a cyborg? A cyborg is the relationship between the human being and the machine. And it's a two-way street. The human being controls the machine. The machine has input to the human being. But it's quite possible to have scenarios which we see already right now in modern society in which that machine, that relationship, that machine has the primary control. And even the human's usage of it is an illusion of control, oftentimes to satisfy desires that were put into the human by those who are in charge of the machines.
Are you feeling like a crackpot these days?
I've always been, so this is really not a change of scenery for me.
I think all our pots are a little cracked.
But I was a rigger, professional rigger. I would hang the motors and various other pieces of equipment for light, sound, video. It was a pretty spectacular view of the machine. You don't need a chip in your head or in your palm if you just carry your smartphone around 24/7. And, you know, transhumanism is an idea. It's a vision for where all of these technologies are going. From 2007, with the introduction of the iPhone onward, social life changed, mental life changed, romance changed, business changed, everything changed. So unless you think that that was it, that was the last big change, then there are many more big changes coming. Transhumanists map those changes as they foresee them and as they desire them. The direction that those technologies go is going to be very important for what we do, how we think, how we live, and ultimately what we are, if we are even fully human at all.
You write that humanity 2.0 will be transnational, transcultural, transgender, transracial, transspecies, and at its extreme edge, transhuman, the final merger of man with the machine. You continue, they want to drill holes in our skulls, insert hair-thin wires, and bring our souls into full communion with artificial intelligence. They want to reach into our cells and rewrite our DNA. They want to spawn GMO babies from artificial wombs. They want to mutate our species and guide evolution according to their will and whim. They want to create entirely new species of plants, animals, and fungi. They want to control the weather itself. They're ready to create heaven on earth, even if it looks like hell to most of us.
When you get into the more exotic technologies like brain-computer interfaces, you've got multiple levels on that. The smartphone, I think, is the first step. Elon Musk talks about this all the time. We are already cyborgs. I think he's absolutely correct. Human beings basically create digital twins, as it's been described as like a snail shell. Or if you were to look at the entire digital environment, it would be like a coral reef. You know, we are creating these external realities that are our personalities, our desires, our artistic productions, all of that. It's a kind of another layer sitting over the top of society and over the planet. What does that look like in 50 years if we continue on like this? To what extent will that become the primary focus, the primary reality? To what extent do we lose what is most valuable in the human being by giving up face-to-face interactions, by giving up direct contact with nature, by giving up some of our worst elements? I mean, one of the arguments that is made a lot by the more aggressive technocrats is that racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia will be eliminated through these technologies. Do we give those up? Are those, to some extent, is in-group preference, or is heteronormativity, or is any of these things that are now the ultimate sins of the liberal order? Do we just completely give them up and become gray in our minds? The big thing is to be very realistic about the ups and downsides, and also do your best to just simply imagine what it means to incorporate some sort of exotic alien being into your life. Now, you might say that's a paranoid way of looking at it, and that's because you asked a somewhat paranoid person for the answer, but that's the answer that I would give.
You know, looking out from backstage, or oftentimes from up in the catwalks, and looking out onto the crowds and that sort of hypnotism that takes place, it was really powerful. Even 15 years in, I continued to marvel at it. And I don't want to completely denigrate it. I think that a lot of great talent has appeared and graced the stage with wonderful art. But by and large, the machine has a lot more weight than the artist in many cases, most cases, I would say. Yeah, I think, though, that the entertainment industry has pervaded most of people's lives now. Rather than even having to go to a show, you've got the show right here at all times. So that machine, it's not really just the machine in the arena. It's not just the machine in the stadium. The Roman Colosseum has now extended out into every home, into every pocket. And they say, the transhumanists say, soon into every brain.
Got the same one.